Good morning. Today we are going to talk about the answers to Sumati's questions. But before that, we need to review what are the three questions. We won't be covering all the questions first. What I will be doing is I will cover the answer and then we'll follow by the other 7 questions maybe in next week. Let us recapitulate last week, the first 3 questions. The first one is about obtaining an elegant appearance, obtaining wealth, and keeping a harmonious life. We shall now go through the sutra. At that time, the Buddha spoke to the maiden Sumati, saying, "Excellent, excellent. It is good that you are able to ask about such profound matters. Now listen carefully and well mindfully, and I will tell you." Over here you notice that the word listen carefully, and well mindfully. This is a strong emphasis to make sure that everybody pay attention, especially over those days in India back 2,500 years ago. You don't get to have paper and pen to record down, and henceforth paying attention carefully is very important. And next Sumati then spoke, saying, "Just so, Bhagavan, we are joyfully wishing to hear it." Let's now look at the answer by the Buddha. The Buddha told Sumati, "A bodhisattva who accomplishes 4 dhammas receive an upright body. What are these 4? The first one is not giving rise to a mind of hatred for bad friends. The second is to abide in great kindness. The third is to have profound delight in the correct Dharma. The fourth is to create images of the Buddha." They are altogether 4 parts answer to one question. Henceforth, for this sutra, there are 10 questions from Sumati, and altogether there are in total 40 answers to all these 10 questions. Each question will have 4 parts answer to it. Now we look at the first part answer to question number 1. Not giving rise to a mind of hatred for bad friends. And what it was being mentioned in the commentary to the Sumati Sutra by Venerable Master Hsing, he said that, well, it means equal regards for enemies and relatives. And next, to become a Buddha, we must learn how to deal with daily affairs. And then next, to accomplish difficult tasks, to live or work with difficult people. And the last one is, person filled with hatred is far from looking serene. Most of these answers, we find it not difficult to understand, but it's something that is difficult to put them into practice. Because enemies, this may be someone who hurt us and harm us. Why should we be nice to them? So this is a real challenge in life. And then the next one is, to become a Buddha, we must learn how to deal with daily affairs. This is not only related to just people, but also to the environment, the surrounding environment that we come face to face. When you look at the weather, it's going to rain, but you have an appointment going out, it's an outdoor appointment event. So you can imagine that kind of frustrations that grow in your heart. Well, basically in South Africa, the weather is much more predictable than in Melbourne. Melbourne says that, those Melbourne people, they will always say that there are 4 seasons within one day itself. So if you don't like the weather, you just need to wait for another 5 minutes. The weather will just change. So it's so unpredictable, but how are you going to live with this kind of so-called the environmental enemies? So we have to practice and learn all these things to make our life much peaceful and serene. The third one is also related to the previous two, to accomplish difficult tasks, to live or work with difficult people. Yeah, sometimes life is not a bed of roses. You may not get the job that you like or the people that you like to work with you or live with you. But how? You can't just escape from them. How many times can you escape from them? You have to learn how to deal with this. And of course, a person filled with hatred couldn't be looking serene. And now let's listen to this President Abraham Lincoln, how he say, "Do I not destroy my enemies when I make them my friends?" This is something that we tried very hard to think about it, what life is like if these enemies is always in our heart, in our mind. We don't feel comfortable. Our whole mind is preoccupied by someone that we hate, and there is no room for someone that we love. So it's really not worthwhile, and it's really unfair to our loved ones because they are not inside your mind. It's not inside your heart. They didn't get a place despite they being so nice to you. And yet who got it? The enemy. In Visuddhimagga, a book written by Buddhaghosa, commentaries about the sutras, things mentioned by the Buddha, the word Visuddhi means pure, Magga means path. We put it the other way around, it's called the path to purification. And he discussed about anger. He said that by doing this, you are like a man who wants to hit another and pick up a burning ember or excrement in his hand, and so first burn himself or makes himself stink. This is a very visual effect kind of answer to what hatred, what anger is about with us. And you couldn't even imagine that we are all doing this onto ourselves whenever we get angry. This is one of the verses that I really like it in the Dhammapada. It's verse number 5. Hatred is never appeased by hatred in this world. By non-hatred alone is hatred appeased. This is a law of eternity. You saw this picture of the warrior, two of them trying very hard to kill each other, but then it will never solve. Whoever wins, hatred are still there. Henceforth, Buddhas tell them that, it's through loving kindness, then we can resolve whatever differences or disagreement among us. The second part to question number 1 is to abide in great kindness. That is to treat everyone with kindness, equal regard for enemies, strangers, relatives, and friends. But equal is not in absolute sense, because it's not possible in that way, because you have to see what kind of situation. For example, you give 100 kilograms of maize meal to a children and 100 kilogram maize meal to an adult. You know that that's definitely not enough for the adult, but for the children maybe it's sufficient. So sometimes we have to use our wisdom to differentiate what is called equal. And kindness is a cure for hatred. You notice that these answer 1 and 2 are very much interrelated. In the Visuddhimagga, there's one part about these metta meditations. In this metta meditation, you don't start off with your enemy, because this is too difficult. Instead of really trying to create a kind of loving kindness, or metta, you create a very strong sense of hatred inside you. Hence why we always start off with the one we love most. And the one we love most must be someone who is living. Yeah, you cannot look for someone who had already passed away. You start off with someone that you love, then someone that is also closely related to you, but so kind of relationship. And then the third one is somebody you don't know, strangers. And then the last one come to, yes, your enemies. It's only gradually we develop this kind of loving kindness to people around us, then we can overcome that kind of hatred towards our enemy and develop kindness. And kindness, like what it was mentioned, is a cure for hatred. The third one is to have profound delight in the correct Dharma. So what does this profound here means? In Chinese, it involves the word deep, and then consistent and persistent is actually by me, because I find that this delight in the correct Dharma shouldn't just be for a while only. It should be long term, and it should be consistently. That kind of delight, then you, because of this delight, you can put it into practice. Sometimes when you heard a verse, for example, you like the Dhammapada verse 5, but then you just like it for a while and after that forget about it. So when something make you really angry, you've forgotten about this verse, and it won't help you, to keep your cool and try to put these kind of differences aside. Hence, personally, I find that this consistency and persistency is very important. And then next, what is correct Dharma? Correct Dharma here, it doesn't only include things that Buddha says. It can be something that is not even being mentioned by the Buddha. There's so many good things that, within those 45 years or 49 years of him preaching the Dharma, he may not have covered everything. So a general rule for that would be beneficial to self, others, or both. Of course, the idea would be to benefit all me and you. But sometimes when it couldn't, then it may be just beneficial to self or beneficial to others. But one very important thing is that, be it beneficial to self or beneficial to others, it shouldn't cause any harm to me or others. The next one that I have also added on is the intoxication of the mind. Because if you get the wrong Dharma, it's like a poisoning of the mind, and this is very difficult to remove. It's just like a person who takes drugs, he want to kick off these habits of taking drugs, need to go through a long period of rehabilitations and all these things. But it's even worse for corrupted ideas and belief, because nobody want to admit and agree that they have these corrupted ideas or beliefs. So this is why correct Dharma is very important. And then the next one is the Eightfold Noble Path. We notice that each path begins with the word right. Right doesn't necessarily mean good or smooth. The path, even if it's good or smooth, it may not lead to the destinations. But the right path is the one that leads to destination. We see those bad guys out there, or not only guys, women as well. They try to steal, they try to rob. They actually also do their homework. They will look out for those people that is easily, to steal or rob from them. They check out their time, when they come, when they leave, how much money they carry, and all these things. They are eyeing for their targets. They are also very diligent. But this is not the right kind of diligence in Buddhism. These are just one of the examples of this Eightfold Noble Path about having this right versus without the word right over there. Here is a very interesting story by Venerable Master Hsing talking about flowers or fish. There, there were a few fishermen. They went out to the sea and tried to catch some fish, but that they didn't have very good luck. It took them very long, and finally they sell off all their fishes. By the time it comes, it was like a bit very late, and it's a journey from the marketplace to their house. So they're looking for accommodation for just one night. And they look around, they chance upon a forest, and they approach this forest, see whether they can stay one night. And the forest say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not a hotel or motel, but then I only have a storerooms that are filled with flowers. If you don't mind, you can stay there." Well, this fisherman was like, "No, beggar is no chooser. You at that kind of spot, you just simply take it." And they happily went to the storerooms. But surprisingly, despite being very tired, they couldn't sleep. And one of them went up, go to the toilet, and while he went to the toilet on his way, he saw their fishing net, fishing basket. And the smell is so attractive to him, and he decided that, okay, I'm going to bring this back to the storeroom, which is filled with the fragrance, the scent of the flowers. Once he bring this fish basket back into the room, it was just a while all fell asleep. So these people are so used to this kind of smell. Despite the fact that the scent of flowers, to most of us, we would think that is very nice, but to them, it may not be so. Hence, we see in Master Hsing's, what he wrote here is that not mending minor flaws lead to failure like a stone worn away day by day. Unnoticed, doing small wholesome deeds lead to a wholesome outcome, as the scent of an orchid in a hidden valley grows stronger day by day.
Dharma shows us a better way of living, but our old habits draw us back to what is known, what we feel comfortable with. If we do not observe our habitual tendency, then it is like the fisherman who got used to the scent of fish and become attached to it.
This is the fourth point to question number 1, to create images of the Buddha. When we look at this sentence, we have to go slightly beyond just the words of it, because there's more to it. Let us see some examples. In the Platform Sutra of the Sixth Patriarch, Bhikshu Fangbian wanted to look at the robe and bowl of Master Huineng, which were handed down to him by the Fifth Patriarch. So he went to ask the Sixth Patriarch. And the Sixth Patriarch was wondering, why you ask me these questions, He's expecting something like question on the dharmas, but no, he only asked about bowls and ropes. And well, what he did was he asked him instead, what are your expertise? Fangbian said that he knows how to make Buddha images. Master Huineng said, then you make me a statue. Well, caught off guard, Fangbian just stood there in silence, but a few days later he had finished making a true image of the patriarch. It looked just like the master, the nose, ears, eyes, all the features were exactly right. It was a perfect likeness right down to the finest detail. On the left-hand side is a statue of Master Huineng, but doubtful that was the original one made by Bhikshu Fangbian. When the master saw this little statue of himself, he couldn't help but smile. 旁边, you may know how to model clay, but you don't know the Buddha nature. Hey, from this sentence, you may sense something, that the sixth patriarch, Master Huineng, his definition of Buddha statue is not a physical one. It was all about the Buddha nature. Now, let's look at another example, also quite interesting, how they look at the thing called Buddha statue. Here, you can see the picture of a monk with his hands stretching out, and then, yeah, this is the Buddha statues. You still can see the lotus petals here. Chop it into half, I think so, and I think he is trying to keep himself warm just by looking at the picture itself. Now let's come to this wording part. Master Tanxia was spending a night at a ruined temple with a few companions. The night was cold and there was no firewood. He went to the hall of worship, took down the wooden image of the Buddha, and make a fire. You dare to do such thing in Nanhua Temple? You'd be in deep trouble, okay? These are meant for those enlightened beings. We don't do that. But how he looked at the Buddha statue? Let's see. When he was reproached by his comrades for this act of sacrilegious, he said, I was only looking for the sarira, or sacred relics of the Buddha. How can you expect to find sarira in a piece of wood? Well, then I am only burning a piece of wood after all. So maybe for Tanxia, he sees it more as what? Something, a piece of wood. But some others of these monks who was with him see it as a Buddha statue. But I think for Tanxia, he can see the differences. The kind of worship is not worshipping of a statue. It's the worshipping of the wisdom, of the compassion of the Buddha. But to worship compassion and wisdom is so abstract. Hence, for having a statue is much easier for people to visualize and understand. But a lot of people get these so-called incorrect beliefs or incorrect ideas of what these statues are meant for. And later on, I'm going to show you very interesting videos where you can see how does these Buddha's statues have an impact to our life, even if we are not going to worship the statue itself.
He took the statue and placed it between two trees on the site. Though Stevenson is not a Buddhist, he stated that he believed Buddha to be a neutral and uncontroversial figure who might cause those considering dumping to think twice. He didn't expect much to happen next. Maybe someone would steal the Buddha or graffiti him. Well, that didn't happen. Instead, little by little, neighbours began to care for the tiny statue. Then, a Vietnamese neighbour named Vina Vo and her son Cook Vo paid a visit to Stevenson and asked if they could care for the statue. They built a platform for the statue to sit on and began to sweep and clean the area around him. Vo's husband then built a shelter around him. They say that everyone in the neighbourhood loves the shrine and that all are welcome. As for Stevenson, his spur-of-the-moment idea has really changed the area where he lives. It's become this icon for the whole neighbourhood, he says. There's a lot of people that are not Buddhist that come and just talk in front of him. They walk their dogs, they stand there. It's a place where people meet and talk. It's just cool. Stevenson's original idea was to stop people dumping rubbish and doing drugs, and from that point of view, it's been very successful. What's even more impressive is that the Oakland Police Department stated that since the statue was made into a shrine and expanded and daily worship began in 2012, by 2014 crime had fallen in the neighborhood by 82%.
In the video, we saw how a small Buddha statue has a great impact on the community, not only for the Buddhists themselves, even for non-Buddhists. There are less rubbish in that place, and even the crime rate also declined. This is really amazing. So what does this Buddha statues mean? I think these Buddha statues symbolize what? Symbolize righteousness, integrity, purity, being good, being kind, and it's also a very strong kind of message being brought across to all the people that this is a pure land. So do not do anything bad or harmful or evil in the community. I think this is really, really super. Never expect this kind of result from a small little Buddha statue. Now we wrap up this part. At that time, the Buddha spoke a verse: avoid hatred which spoil good roots. Have kindness, delight in the Dharma, and make Buddha images. This will cause you to have good features adorning your body so that all sentient beings are happy when they perceive it. Tranquilly abide by great loving kindness. Give loving kindness, and people will be happy to be with you. We shall now move on to the second answer. Moreover, Sumati, a bodhisattva who accomplishes 4 dharmas, will attain a body that is rich and noble. What are these 4? The first is that you should give timely gifts. The second is to do so without a mind of disdain for others. The third is to do so with happiness. And the fourth is to do so without expecting any rewards. Timely give, I think this is quite clear. We have to give it at the appropriate time. You don't give people something like during summer, you give them winter clothing. This is not really appropriate. And then the second one is, when giving, one should not be arrogant, feel disdainful, and undermine others. Giving should be practiced with a respectful mind. The third one is a mind that does not feel troubled or does not trouble others, but feels delight, follows conditions, and gives in accordance to one's ability in giving with a joyful mind. So someone may want to help out during this COVID-19, but then when they go deep into their pocket, realize that they don't have enough money. So we have to give according to our ability. And sometimes we can think beyond material gift. You can help out volunteering. There are other ways and means of giving. And okay, give shouldn't what? We shouldn't feel trouble, or neither should us trouble others, especially when we are giving away things that we don't like. Okay, you are just pushing around things you don't like to others, giving people a lot of problem. And the fourth one is without seeking rewards. The intention of the donor must be pure, not expecting anything in return.
At that time, the Bhagavan spoke a verse: giving timely gives without disdain, happily giving without seeking reward, Being able to constantly strive and cultivate these, you'll be born into great wealth and nobility. Some people have the idea that the more I give, the lesser I have. This is not true because you gain more friendship, develop better relationship with people who receive your help, or gain respect from the community. Although we don't give for all these returns, this is something that may happen as a result of our good deeds. When you see these people happily receive the gift, you also get to feel the joy of giving. When you give, you have the motivation to work harder to provide to these people in need. Your boss or customer may see the changes in you and might give you the due recognition. You definitely have more to gain by giving. What you reap is what you sow. As such, Buddha said, by giving, it will give rise to great wealth and nobility. Sometimes you don't even need to wait until next life. In this life, you may see the good returns. Now we come to the part on question number 3, how to develop unfeeling kinship. Moreover, Sumati, a bodhisattva who accomplishes 4 dharmas, will have unfeeling kinship. What are these 4? The first is to be skilled at abandoning divisive speech. The second is to cause sentient beings with wrong views to abide in the right view. The third is to cause the correct Dharma to be protected from extinction and to abide for a long time. The fourth is to teach sentient beings the path to the Bodhi of the Buddhas.
Answer to question 3. To be skilled at abandoning divisive speech. First, we have false speech. Second, slanderous speech. Third, harsh speech. And lastly, idle chatter. If you want a bad relationship, well, then maybe you can adopt all of this. These 4 don't work in a harmonious family. Saying false speech will make your family members to lose trust in you. Slanderous speech is just as harmful as harsh speech. Idle chatter is something that we usually don't notice. They could use some of your valuable time in life, and it doesn't help one to acquire knowledge. Too much of these are toxic for our mind. Creating a harmonious family requires cultivation too. It is like a plot of maize field which requires every individual in a family to take tender care of the field, to provide the good conditions for the maize to grow. All those divisive speeches are like insects, weeds, or snowstorms that will harm the vegetation. Next, cause sentient beings with wrong views to abide in the right view. On the left-hand side, you see this something like an ostrich? No, it's a human being. Why he behaved like ostrich? Because he's trying to run away from the truth. The 5 prints is about climate change, whereby this person refused to accept this climate change. It's sad to say that we tend to choose what is appealing to us to believe, and those that is not appealing to us, we just ignore. But we cannot always live a life as an ostrich. We are human beings. And on the right hand side is about perspective, whereby from the island you look from far, you saw a boat. Well, someone can help you to get away from this island. But on the other hand, the person in the boat was trying to look for a place whereby it can land. And well, it doesn't turn out to be that way. From these pictures, we can see that from different angles we have different perspective. And this brings us back to creating a harmonious family. To enable a family to be harmonious, we must be able to see from different perspectives. Try to understand from your family members' point of view and be more embracing. And of course, the most important thing is that you must have the right view in the very first place. These are all the fundamentals that needs to get it right to build up a harmonious family. We have now come to part 3 and part 4 to the answer for question number 3. To cause the correct Dharma to be protected from extinction and to abide for a long time. The mindfulness practice has become very common throughout the world. And why is that so? Because a lot of people, after practicing these mindful meditations, it makes changes, progresses in their daily life and their interactions with their family members, colleagues, and the community. And we see that the benefits of the correct Dharma and how it influences others. And as such, it is very important for us to cause this correct Dharma to be protected from extinction. And the last one is to teach sentient beings the path to the body of the Buddhas. Sumati's first 3 questions refers to our present life, but her other questions, some of them refer to the future lives. And all these questions is not just about past life or present lives. It's not only her questions, but also questions that she asks on behalf of the sentient beings. By practicing all these answers that was given by the Buddha, one gets to be on the path of the body, okay, path to the body of the Buddhas, and ultimately is a kind of liberation for us. At that time, the Bhagavan spoke a verse: abandon divisive speech and wrong view, protect the correct Dharma from extinction, and peacefully establish beings in great body. And this will accomplish unfailing kinship. We see from speech to protecting the correct Dharma, to establish beings in great Buddhi, all these will help to improve our relationship. And today I shall end here and see you next week.